These are hard times for all levels of government. They were hard before this last big collapse of the financial system. And of course, it's almost impossible now. But one of the things that I wanted to comment on has to do with a movement in Arizona right now, and particularly affecting the school district where my son's daughter, our youngest granddaughter, goes to school. We're talking about the need, the possibility to save money, the need to save money by having larger school districts. Instead of having a Yuma Union High School District separate entirely from the elementary schools, and then having elementary schools in the city of Yuma, in the big suburb of Crane, the little community of Somerton, the now huge community of the Gadsden School District because it includes San Luis, Arizona. Well, in theory, that sounds really good. You know, why do you need that many different superintendents, that many different offices, and so on? Couldn't we save a lot of money if we would consolidate, have one superintendent, one business office, one manager of the buses, etc., etc.? Sounds real good, doesn't it? The little problem, though, that goes with it is that as it gets bigger, and I'm going to talk about Jefferson County Public Schools because that's the biggest organization I was ever part of. They were the second largest school district in Colorado when I was there, and have now for years been the largest school district in Colorado. I guess that's changed since I heard last. In Jefferson County, Colorado, I don't know how many assistant superintendents there were. I don't know for sure, but I do know we had a director of junior highs, and that's the only big shot I ever really saw on a one-to-one basis. So there is undoubtedly a director of elementary, a director of senior high, and then lo and behold, I'm out there at Evergreen Junior High, and I get a visit from a gentleman who announces that he's the supervisor of music. Oh, I guess then we had a supervisor of mathematics, of the language arts, of the foreign languages, and on and on and on. And you have the bus driver, not a bus driver, a bus supervisor, and then he has the head mechanic, and he has other mechanics under him, and on and on. And you have a warehouseman who, after the bids go out and you take the cheapest thing you can get, and a lot of times that stuff they sent to us we threw away because it was worthless. Yeah, you got it cheap, but it wasn't quality. Though the worst part of it wasn't all that. The worst part was that you know, I'm a principal in that school system. You know how often I saw a superintendent? I'd heard a lot about Superintendent Johnson through Dr. Romine and through reading about what a great school system the Jefferson County Public Schools were, and they were indeed a great school system. But he was gone, and Dr. Forbes Bottomley was the superintendent by the time I got out there, and I think I saw Dr. Bottomley once, way up there when I'm back there as one of several hundred teachers and staff attending a countywide meeting in a huge auditorium. His successor was Dr. Walker. I think I saw him a couple of times, similar situation. Dr. Romine, that I visited with and got to know personally when he was calling on our Phillips University to hire students, even though he told me one day to bring a resignation to him right now. Get up, do it right now. I didn't get to see Dr. Romine. I went into an office, a huge building full of offices. I'd asked for directions and finally found his area and handed that to a secretary. Never saw Dr. Romine in person again. So what am I telling you? Bigness isn't necessarily going to save any money, and what it does do is it insulates the power structure completely away from the individual employee, teacher, aide, principal. Think about it from a parent's point of view that has a problem with the school district. You cannot get to the top unless you would hire a lawyer and file a lawsuit, or happen to be on the same block or some other way have a personal connection that would let you get in. So I'm no fan of consolidation of the school districts in Arizona, even though in theory it sounds great. It's hard enough in a district no bigger than the Yuma Union High School district to get to the top. Big school districts get to be kind of like the Army, layer after layer after layer, and if you do hear from above, it's never good news. It's because you did something wrong. You're just back in the Army in a lot of ways. Yours is not to do or die. Yours is not to question why. Yours is but to do or die. By the way, Dr. Bottomley, the rumor mill had him labeled as a good idea man, but not a good day-to-day administrator, and a lot of dislike for his chief assistant superintendent, who was, we thought, the hatchet man. Dr. Walker, I thought, was much more down to earth, and he got more hell than you can imagine. Incidentally, something came up about sex education, and he was quoted in the newspaper as saying that he got more grief over having approved a study of whether or not to have sex education in the schools than anything else he ever did. Didn't think it was fair to him. Being a superintendent of schools isn't always fair.